Good evening. Welcome to the Radium Fox channel. This will be the first video on the channel. This channel most likely, and well, not even most likely, it will be focused around vintage lighting, restorations, and just electrical work in general. I typically aim for like period of time era, I'd say from the 1950s up to like at best the 90s. That's kind of like my range of specialties. I don't really like to go any older or any more modern than that unless it's, truly eye-catching to me. So, but yeah, welcome to the channel. This first video will be, I guess you could say, making a extension cord for my Christmas display. It'll have multiple parts. I've got two switches, 15 amp switches at 120 volts, of course. Go side by side here. Got the cover plate for it. And the work won't be great. You can see I have an extension cord here, and I've got the ends on it. So how it's going to work is power is going to come in this end and go to one of the switches, and then the plug end will leave out this end, or this hole, or whatever, which one works. And then the second one looks this way. So in total, it'll be 6 plugs. Per switch will control each plug. And like I said, this will primarily be used for my Christmas display. So, yeah. So this cord, like I said, has already been cut. And I'll undo it here. So I've cut this to specific lengths. Here, let me get this undone. As you can see, I've already cut this, and I had to wrap electrical tape around it because these only can go so far down. And the problem is, even at its lowest point, I could push it in there, and if I wiggle enough, I could pull it right out. Now, will it actually ever slip out? Probably not, but I just wanted to put this bit of electrical tape there just to make sure it was held in place. I've done it for the exit one, but this other extension cord, which I just purchased today, surprisingly pretty cheap for 99 cents at a thrift store in town. So I'll cut the video and I'll come back to you when I've got all the wires in place, and when I have the other cord cut, this one with the plug end, I'll cut back to it and we'll wire it up. Alright, so I've got all the wires put in place. So from this connection here is the plug, which I just recently realized in the process of making this, that the neutral side had actually been cut. You can see this is the hot side, which is normal, but the neutral side looks like someone took a pair of snips to it maybe and cut it so that you could plug it into maybe a non-polarized plug or such. So the first port power coming in is through this knockout. The second one, I had to use white electrical tape because I, oddly enough, ran out of black tape on wrapping these. So the white one goes to the three-way one, which like I said, has been cut. The other end of it is here, so I always like to save the plugs on it, so if I ever need to wire it onto something else, I easily can without having to go buy another plug. And now this end here is the longer cord. So, like I said, this will be used for my Christmas display. So what it'll be doing is one switch will be controlling, like I said, this plug, while the other one controls the other plug. I will be using this in my windowsill because, well, simply because I want to. One plug will go to my chandeliers because my window consists of 3 windows, 1 large and 2 small ones on each side. And in each one of those windows, I have a chandelier. So 3 chandeliers, so 3 plugs. So one switch will control the chandeliers, and then the second switch, which goes up the wall and onto the curtains. And from the curtains, I have a set of vintage C9 Christmas lights, like this. Here you go. These are the C9 bulbs I use in my Christmas lights. This one was clearly used outside and is well burnt out. And these are the old GE light bulbs that are painted on the inside that I use in the chandeliers in the window. And the whole circuit is on a dimmer, which I've also constructed. Just a simple, not very old dimmer, switch dimmer, and the plug is down here on the bottom. So I'll be plugging this into the wall, and then this setup will be plugged into it. Won't be the prettiest, but it'll work. And I try to keep all my vintage lights on dimmers just to kind of, I guess, save the lifespan of them, if that makes sense. Sorry about that. I accidentally stopped the camera. I don't even know how I managed to do that. But like I was saying, I use the dimmer on all my vintage Christmas lights just to try to expand the lifespan of them to keep them going longer. Cause I don't have many of those bulbs. I'd say I've got about maybe a box of, let's say, 20 of those. Not much left. And oh, for C7 lights, I've got so many of these. I can blow through all those, and I could probably make it couple years at least, maybe like 5 years, I'd say. Because last year for Christmas I only burned about 3 light bulbs in total, which was pretty amazing. Despite the year before that I burned about 7. So but yeah, I hope this setup will work out for what I'm trying to do. So all of these here, all the plugs come in. I really should use solid core wire, but that's just too much money for what I'm trying to do. Too hard to work with for just a setup like this that won't be used all year round. Like I said, just 2-3 months at the most every single year. And even then, I probably should put solder, like, tip of solder on these just to keep them all there. But as long as I guess I'm watching it, keeping an eye on where strands are, and if I lose any strands, I think it'll be all right. And I'll be wrapping everything, electrical tape, and to just ensure nothing touches the box so it doesn't become electrified, and nothing else shorts out. So, all right, I'm gonna get to wiring and just doing a little bit of voltage testing here, just to kind of find out what wire is hot, what's neutral, that kind of stuff. So, I'll speed up the video while I start wiring this up. Okay, so how I've done this is I've gone with the multimeter around and checked all the cables, finding out which's hot. So I've bent all the hot wires, just so I have them marked, and then all the neutral wires. So we're gonna grab a wire nut, and we're gonna tie all the neutral wires in together. So, like I said, this isn't gonna be the greatest. It's kind of a tight connection there. I'm gonna try to see if I can get more wire out of there, because that's just really tight. Let's see. I think that'll work. Okay, so like I said, all neutral wires have been bent, or hot wires, I mean, sorry about that. Let's see. Okay, I typically try not to do 3 wires at a time because that just fills in the wire nut. I might need to grab a bigger one here. So twist them all together, and like I said, it's not the best work, it's dodgy, but for the holidays, I'll be keeping an eye out on this. It'll work for what I'm doing. All right, it's working. I'm gonna relieve some of this side too. Just don't want it pulling too much on the wire in there and the wire nut popping off, even though it survived me pulling on it. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Also, because I don't want the wire nut being away when I put down the light switches, because that has happened to me, specifically when I wired up the dimmer. That was a very annoying problem, but I got past it. I just had to make a couple new cuts. Okay, so that's we'll go over there. Now we've got our hot wire. We might have to adjust that again. I don't really know. This wire is cut really short, if you can see that. Not much room to work with since I taped it so low. But so how I'm gonna do this is I've got 2 switches, and each one needs to have a hot wire. So you got our power coming in, and then to the 2 extension cords. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut these extra little cables I've cut, and I'm gonna wire them in on here, and then each of these wires will go to a switch, and then after that it'll make the connection here. Then we'll wrap it with tape, put it all together. So I'll cut back to you when I get that done. Alrighty, so I ended up not using this wire simply because, you know, it's stranded wire, but I was going to use it, but upon stripping it off, I found out that the wire inside is very, very thin, and I didn't trust it because originally that wire was, I don't know what from. It was just probably something I pulled it off from. But, you know, at best, this is going to have like 2, maybe at best 3 amps of lights on it, because I put a lot of lights up in that window. So instead, what I've done is I've got some solid core wire. So I'm going to still wire nut it underneath stranded wire. I don't really usually do that, so I'm going to make sure that's extra tight on there. But you can see, I already got the curve in stripped. This one I wrapped in black electrical tape. It was only a little bit of tape I had left. You know, I didn't have another neutral wire I could easily grab, so I just wrapped this one in black electrical tape so that you know it's hot. So I'll get to putting all the hot wires together, and then after that, I'll get the switches in place and wire that all up, and I guess we'll be good to go. And for extra precaution, just to make sure these wires all stay together, I'm going to be putting a zip tie around it, just to give it, you know, I'm going to still give it plenty of room to wiggle, so it's not straining the wire, but just to make sure everything stays together and nothing gets pulled apart. Sorry, I couldn't realize you couldn't see what I was doing there. What I've done is I don't know how much you didn't see. I'll have to play it back and see. I got the zip tie on there, which is connected to the pull this switch. I really should redo the connection there. It's a little sketchy. I missed a little bit. But overall, it's not doing too bad. So yeah, I'll cut back to you when I've got both switches wired up. Before I get both of them connected, I like those connections a lot better than what I had previously. Alrighty, so I've got all the switches in. It's all wired up inside. You got your hot wire that goes to both switches, and then your neutrals, which just go to all the cables. So before I put the front cover on, which I'm going to double check to make sure that it's fitting on there. Yeah, see, look, it's switches oddly enough are just not aligning. So I gotta change these little tabs to make them align better, which is no big problem, not at all. I just kind of forgot to do that because when I bought this, I want to make sure everything would align well, but I forgot. All right, let's see. That helped it. Not yet. I think, well, these are already as close as they can be. I guess I gotta move them further out. There we go. We'll see if this makes any difference now. And it looks like it would fit. It's just not. Okay. Okay, I guess it's fitting now. Sorry, I don't mean to keep pushing everything out of the way. I hope you saw that. It's fitting in there now. It's just kind of a little tight in there, but it's working, I guess. So now we get all of our screws, which, let's see, okay, yes. don't want to twist it on there too tight. Yeah, see, look, I cracked it. Yeah, there you go. You can see it in the light. I cracked it, but it's not terrible. Plus, this was just a dodgy electrical setup anyways. I don't think it's gonna be too bad. Okay, I do think I need to change that, though. For whatever reason, the screw in there is not perfectly aligned. I think that just might be easy enough to fix. Maybe I do gotta take this cover off again. Something's not right. Alright, let's see. Maybe I gotta move these a little further apart. Let's see. Push it like there. Let's see. That's better. It's fitting better. And they look more aligned. They're gonna rub a little bit, but that's the best I think it'll. Oh, well, that's the best I'll get it. I won't fiddle with it any further. It's just not worth it. So, I put it on. Oh, yeah. Whatever. Yikes. This is really cheap plastic. It's too bad. I would have found a better and older cover, but I couldn't do that. Just don't have many of these old covers, and all the ones I do have are in use. So I just try to buy these more yellowed out covers at Home Depot. Alrighty, so my setup is complete. We got 2 switches. This one's squeaky for whatever reason. I might try to get a wood backing for this. I don't really know quite yet. Yeah. So this switch will power this cord, which will run up to power the icicle lights and C9 lights in the windowsill, or not windowsill, but the window. And this one will this switch will power the chandeliers. So I'll plug it in. We'll get some lights going. We'll give it a quick test. Oops. Okay, so I don't have many twinkle lights easily available. All of my vintage ones and such are in storage. So I grabbed this broken up and tangled up, just garbage twinkle light set, and my other lights, just this rope light set. So all right, so that works. All right, it's working pretty good. So yeah, this will probably sit in the windowsill, powering all my lights, and if I ever just want to switch one off or have the other on, I can easily do that. And like I said, these will all be on the dimmer, which I can easily demonstrate that at this moment. So plug it all in, get everything turned up. Alrighty, so got it connected to the dimmer now. You can see this is the setup I was talking about. So dimmer's plugged into it there, then the lights, and we can easily dim it. I usually have it set around here, around that point, just to keep all the lights nice and dim. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. This is, like I said, the first video of the channel. I hope you enjoyed. I hope over time my video skills and editing skills will advance over time. Have a good evening, and thank you so much.